If you are an entrepreneur and you're experiencing challenges with scaling your business, you have an ice cream shop or you have a print shop, you run a church or you manage this online business and you're experiencing challenge with scaling your business, there is one key ingredient you are missing, and that is benchmarking. What is benchmarking? Benchmarking is the process of measuring a company's performance, products, services against those considered to be the best within that industry. So you look at exactly what you are doing and you measure your performance against those who are doing better, well in that industry. Why is this important? Because we live in a world where we need each other to grow. We need each other to stimulate our creative ability so that we can stretch and make ourselves valuable within the marketplace. In the book, The Science of Getting Rich, the author said, you don't get rich by doing certain things. You get rich by doing things a certain way. In this dispensation, if you will be creative and grow exponentially, you have to be willing to do things a certain way. Let's even take it a step further. This is where your creative genius comes into play. This is where the God power in you comes into play. Steve Jobs said, you look at the competitor and you don't say, how can I do it better? But rather, you look at the competitor and you say, how can I do it different? Okay? So when we are talking about the concept of benchmarking, you don't limit yourself to copying what your competitor is doing or what the best in your industry is doing. But rather, you look at your competitor and you say, how can I do it different? How can I do it different? Not do it better. I think this is mind-blowing. I want to let you know that as we embark on transforming our nation, as we embark on building a country that will stand the test of time, I want to let you know we have to look at our competitors. We don't close our eyes to what our competitors are doing. We don't close our eyes to what other countries are doing. We don't close our eyes to what other businesses are doing. But rather, we look at what other businesses are doing. We look at what other countries are doing. And then we say to ourselves, how can we do it different? How can we do it different? How can we take it a step further? So benchmarking is a critical tool that will help you to look at the marketing strategy of your competitors. It might be looking at your competitors' website. How did they design their website and say, what can I do different with my website? It might be looking at your competitor's sales strategy and say, how can I make my sales strategy a little bit better? It can be looking at your competitor's marketing strategy. It can be looking at their ad copy. It can be how they package their product and say, how can I make my own product better? How can I make my own product stand out in the marketplace? Benchmarking does not limit you. Benchmarking does not make you codependent. So this is a message to Cameroonians. Ghana has some of the best airports in the entire continent of Africa, and yet they did not collaborate with any other African country to bring about that success. This is the reality. If your goal is to make $40 million, set the bar at 80. So that if the worst comes to the worst, you go home with your $40 million. The highest country in Africa is 70 years old. I want you to believe that, guess what? It is the time for us, with this technology, with the internet and everything we have around us, we are going to tap into what other nations are doing and transform this nation. We have been playing too low. Entertainment is not the substratum for development. Yes, it is a very, very important pillar, but it is not the foundation of development. There are other industries that make great nations. I want to let you know that camera that is being used to videotape that artist was produced by a nation. How can we build companies that manufacture cameras? That vehicle you're driving to show in your music video was made by another nation. How can we come up with companies that can produce those cars so that we can ride inside and show the world the potential that we possess? I'm talking to some youths, some people who are creative. Because I trust you. I have talked with Cameroonians. You guys are the smartest people on planet Earth. You're very diverse. You're multi-talent. You can't do just one thing. You can either build, you do carpentry. You have this diverse plethora of talents within your disposition. As you go back and start brainstorming on this process of benchmarking, as you pick your pen and paper and start thinking, like, what can I do different? I want to let you know, the guy who created Uber looked at an entire industry and said, guess what? Things are slow. How can we make it different? And he set up a whole system, the biggest transportation company with no vehicles. I want you to start thinking outside of the box and not within the box. The guy who owns Airbnb said, how can I make affordable housing? How can people travel and live in amazing places without owning a house? And he created a company called Airbnb. Today, this company is transforming the globe. I want you to think outside of the box. Don't think within the box. As you start looking at the concept of benchmarking, I encourage you to start looking at other industries. Look at the agricultural industry. How can we make food processing affordable? How can we transform our agricultural system? How can we make healthcare accessible to every Cameroonian? How can we advance our manufacturing departments? How can we make engineering the model of this continent? How can we build cars, build things that can transform the world? The life expectancy of a Cameroonian is 59 years. We have to start looking at our healthcare system and ask ourselves the question, how can we do things different? We have to look at our agricultural sector and ask ourselves the question, how can we do things different? We have to look at our industrial department and ask ourselves, how can we do things different? Our manufacturing department, our engineering department, our entertainment department, how can we do things different? Very, very few Cameroonians make it to the age of 60. This is a sad story. And I want us to change that in this dispensation. And we've looked at the statistics of over half of Cameroonians are below the age of 25. More than half of Cameroonians are below the age of 25. We have to do something. That means almost all the kids that we have in Cameroon have been given birth to by you who is 30 and above. It is time for us to stand up and do something. As we embark on this transformation journey, I urge you to believe in yourself. Benchmark with the best around the world and tap within you the potential that God has given you. I was talking to a brother in South Korea and he said something very amazing. And he said, we have everything that it takes to make Cameroon a great nation in Cameroon. That all the resources are in Cameroon. All the talent is in Cameroon. And all we need to do is a little bit of organization and consistent action to make this dream a reality. Cameroon is the hope of Africa. Cameroon, Africa is looking up to you. Cameroon, you are the destiny of Africa. Don't fail this continent. Let's do it.